definitely the best lesson so far. We're going to talk about food in Brazil. So I know that you may be worrying about how to say certain things, how to ask certain things, how to get around Brazil itself. But everybody likes food. And so if you learn how to talk about food, you'll learn how to survive, right? You're not going to die of hunger, right? You're not going to passar fome, as we say in Brazil. So hopefully you enjoy some of this, and hopefully learn a little bit about the culinary parts of Brazilian culture. Let's get to it. So Brazil has fantastic food. I'm sure you've seen like Brazilian steakhouses and so forth, and that is actually pretty genuine. They do have great selections of meats and different salads and things like that. So that is definitely indicative of Brazilian food right there. So let's start with the most basic. So every Brazilian household is going to have this rice. So if you remember from the pronunciation lesson we did, something with double R more or less becomes an H sound. So it's arroz, rice. Arroz, arroz. Then you'll have something like this. Feijão. Remember that sound we learned last time? Feijão, feijão, feijão. So every Brazilian household will have rice and beans. Restaurants, pretty much anywhere you go, that will definitely be on the menu and definitely be something that you'll probably have. Then we have this, which is also extremely important. Pão, pão. So remember the AO ending with the tilde over the A is a very nasally sound. Pão, pão, pão. Like I said, it is very common. As you can see here, 2 of the 3 words we have already have that sound in there. Pão, which is bread. Pão. So we have carne, just as a general term for meat. Carne, carne, carne. And then we have a Brazilian dish, which is very Brazilian. I'm guessing it's the national dish if there is an official national dish. It is something that started out when slaves really didn't have anything to eat except the scraps of meat. They had beans and the scraps of meat, so they made a stew. So as we see here, feijoada. Now if you look, the root, feijão. So feijoada is probably what? Probably has beans, right? So feijoada is a black bean stew or soup that is cooked for a very long time, and you put pieces of meat in there, whether it's pork or the scraps of another kind of animal. Something that I thought was going to be very common in Brazil, but actually it wasn't. Feijoada is not as common in the interior of some states, right? So in São Paulo, where I lived, we didn't really have that much feijoada. I think I only had it once or twice. But from what I've been told, if you go closer to Rio, closer to some of the more tropical states, feijoada becomes a staple, something much more common. Okay, so feijoada would be a type of black bean stew. It's very tasty, very tasty. So, what else do we have? So now we'll learn some other words. So something like frango. Frango. If you remember the O, I mentioned it very briefly at the end of the last lecture. The O, if it's at the end of the word, more or less has a U sound. And I said not to worry about it that much, but I do want you to recognize it here. So frango, frango, frango. That is chicken. Then we have Peru, Peru, Turkey, Peru, Peru. Continuing, we have peixe, fish. Now remember that X makes like a CH sound. So peixe, peixe, peixe. We also have queijo, which is extremely important. Cheese, queijo, queijo, queijo. Okay, continue. We have macarrão, which would be pasta or macaroni, right? General term. So in this case, the AO ending does not necessarily mean big. Remember we talked about the diminutive and the large forms. So macarrão doesn't mean big macaroni or anything like that. It just means macarrão. This means pasta. Well, I have one of my favorite, linguiça, which is sausage. Right? And I tell you, Brazilian linguiça is absolutely fantastic. It has such a different flavor than the sausage you'll find here in the United States. Definitely recommend it. Okay. We also have do some vegetables, right? Alface. Alface is lettuce. Alface. Alface. Have tomate, which we learned last time. Tomate, tomato. So let's continue. So if you take the alface and the tomate and the pão, you would make what? A sandwich, right? Sandwich. Just mean sandwich. Lunchy would be like a snack. Something small to eat, a small meal. And you actually, if you do visit Brazil, you will probably see a lot of signs that say lanches, lanches. Especially like street carts, street vendors will say lanches on there, which can mean many different things. It can mean a sandwich. It can mean some kind of finger food, that kind of thing. Okay. So if lanche is like a snack or small meal, then a regular meal, I guess you can say to be refeição. That's your meal, right? Refeição. So we also have something like this. So this is very common in Brazil. This is essential. This is one of the most Brazilian things ever. Pão de queijo. So we've learned both of those words already. So it means cheese bread. So pão de queijo is a snack, and it's also something you may have as like an appetizer or as like a finger food, you know, if you're just hanging out around the house. So cheese bread. So it's a ball of cheese that is wrapped in fried dough, fried bread. It's very, very good. Pão de queijo. I've actually found it here in the United States. Definitely recommended. Then we have, let me just finish writing that for you. Something like this. Oops. Now, if you remember cachorro, what does that mean? That means dog. And quente means hot. So, cachorro quente is hot dog. Cachorro quente. Of course, you have hamburger. I've heard people say hamburger, but more or less, I guess if you get anywhere in the ballpark, that would be sufficient for a hamburger, right? Which is also pretty common. Okay. In terms of food, think of this. Farofa. Now farofa is something that we really don't have here, and to be honest, I'm not that big of a fan of. So it's like this roasted cornmeal, and it's kind of strange. So farofa is sort of looks like sawdust. So it is something that if you're having rice and beans, right, you'll put a scoop of farofa on your plate, and you'll mix it in with the rice and the beans to give it in my opinion, a sandy type of texture, right? So if you have rice and beans which are kind of moist and wet, farofa is this dry roasted cornmeal that you add to the food. And it gives it a strange texture. Personally, I'm not a big fan, but most Brazilians, when they come here and they discover we don't really have anything like that, or at least prepared in that way, they're like, what? You gotta be kidding me. It's a staple. Definitely a staple of Brazilian meals, farofa. So definitely check it out. It gives a strange texture. It gives this sandy, dry kind of texture to your rice and beans. But Brazilians love it. So that's one of their unique foods that they have there. Okay. In terms of food, I think that is pretty much it. Now let's go to some beverages. Of course, who doesn't like beverages? Okay, so start out with everybody's favorite, right? Not me. I'm not really a big fan. Leche, milk. Leche. Remember the TE? This sort of the chi, the CH ending. Leche. Leche. Some people I have heard say leti. That's kind of an older and I guess a regional thing, But like I said, if you pronounce it with the TE or the TI as the CH sound, that's perfect. I mean, no one's ever going to say they don't understand you. It's definitely a regional thing. Leche, 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 leche. I will point out right here, if you have an EI right here, the sound, it's like an A. Leche, 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 leche. Okay, so we also have my favorite. Well, some people may say it would rot your teeth. Refrigerante. Just mean soda or pop, depending where you're from in the United States. I say soda. So, refrigerante. 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 Okay, then we have cerveja, which is beer. Cerveja. 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 Vinho. Remember the NH? Vinho. Vinho. Vinho, which is wine. Okay. And then I'll teach you this. This is a extremely Brazilian drink. As feijoada is the Brazilian meal, and caipirinha would be the Brazilian drink. Caipirinha is a type of mixed drink made with Brazilian rum. Brazilian rum goes by this name, cachaça. Brazilian rum. Caipirinha is a mixed drink made with that. So cachaça is very difficult to find here in the United States. I've only found it at one place, believe it or not, in Ohio. And I come from the East Coast, which you think would have a lot of imported things. So cachaça is a pretty tasty Brazilian rum. Now you can get artisanal varieties that is really just for straight sipping, or you can get other varieties which are better with mixed drinks. So a caipirinha is cachaça, limes, muddled crushed limes, sugar, and a lot of ice. So it is like a sugary lime alcoholic beverage. It's fantastic. I mean, if you're having a party in Brazil or you're going to a nice restaurant, you're serving caipirinhas. Caipirinhas. It is fantastic. I make them here in the United States all the time for my family. Fantastic. Now, one other thing, very quickly, I mentioned. So remember the INHA ending we learned in the pronunciation lesson, which means little. It's diminutive. So caipirinha means little redneck, right? So a caipira is a word you would use in Portuguese to describe a redneck, someone from the interior, like a farmer or something like that, not from the city. So just as a little cultural, interesting side note, caipirinha means little redneck. That's the name of the drink. So caipira would be like a redneck or like someone from the interior of the country. Caipirinha. Cachaça is that Brazilian rum that is oh so tasty. Okay. Then we have this. See, I love talking about food and drink. Guaraná, which is a type of refrigerante. It is a type of soda made from a berry that is found in Brazil. I believe some energy drinks contain this berry in the United States. So Guaraná is a type of non-caffeinated drink, refrigerante, soda, that's extremely common in Brazil. We have Coke and Pepsi here. They also have Coke and Pepsi in Brazil. But being that it's sort of like their national soda, I guess you can say, there's so many different varieties, different flavors, different brands. So it's definitely something you definitely need to take a drink of when you go to Brazil, because you will have aisles in the shopping center in the supermarket that are just full of Guaraná, different brands and infused with different flavors from fruits. The closest thing it is that we have in the United States would be like a ginger ale. It has the color and the consistency of a ginger ale, but it doesn't have the ginger flavor. It has a sweeter, fruity flavor. So definitely check out Guaraná. Okay, so what else do we have? We have, okay, so something simple, right? Café, which is coffee. Chá, which is tea. Café, chá. Café, chá. We also have this. Sorvete. Be ice cream. It's not really a beverage, but I'd rather put it here than food. Okay? So you have café, chá, sorvete. That's those drinks. Okay. Some other words that may be helpful if you're in a restaurant would be, well, let me just start you off with this. Restaurante. Okay. Restaurante. So, how about this? Garçon. Waiter. Garçonete. Waitress. Garçon. Okay, so if you have the M at the end of a word, just think of it as an N. That's another pronunciation intricacy, I guess you can say. So the M at the end of a word is more or less like an N. Garçon. 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 Garçonete. 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 Okay. Then we have this. Tip. And I'll do like a section on restaurants and I guess you can say learning how to order and all those little things. Right now I just want to get some basic words, and also it isn't necessarily that you memorize every single word, but as I write them out and as you listen to the way I pronounce it, it helps you learn how to pronounce it as well and see all the different little types of syllables that exist in Portuguese. So gorjeta. Gorjeta would be a tip. And like most other countries in the world, tipping is not customary. So you do not need to leave a tip in Brazil, at least in the places I've ever been to. So the waiters have a salary, and they do not depend upon the kind hearts of others as we do here in the United States. What else? Okay, so just two other things, or phrases, I guess you can say. Oops. So, estou com fome. Now, anybody remember what estou means? That is the conjugation of I am, right? The temporary feeling or mood that I am, right? So if you said I am happy, estou feliz. Okay, so estou, I am, com fome. Com means with. Like I said, if it ends with an M, it's more or less an N, right? Estou com fome. I am hungry. Estou com sede. I am thirsty. Now, if you're in Brazil, you should never have to say these words because there are plenty of great foods and great drinks in Brazil. So, estou com fome. Estou com fome. Estou com sede. Okay. So now we're going to look at some verbs. Now, this is the longest lesson we've done so far, so by all means, you can certainly stop and take a breath or pause or whatever. But I do want to include some of these verbs that are definitely going to come in handy when you're thinking about food or wanting to order food with a verb, or in other situations too. So the verb querer, to want, querer. So if you look at these verb conjugation charts here that we used many lessons ago, you'll remember something like this. So eu means I, você is you, ele, ela, he, she, nós is we, and vocês, eles, elas would mean they or you all, right? So you can just say them or they for now. So, like I said, to remember these verb conjugation charts is essential because the word for saying I want something is different from the word for saying he wants something, right? So it's essential. So, let's start. So, eu quero, I want. Right? I want. So I'm only going to write it for this verb because on the next slides with other verbs, hopefully that you'll remember what these pronouns are, right? So I don't have to write it every time. It's definitely part of memorization. I want. You, he, she wants. We want. You all, or they want. Okay? Querer. Eu quero. I want. Eu quero. Eu quero. Eu quero. Você quer? Ele quer? Ela quer? Nós queremos. Nós queremos. Nós queremos. Vocês querem? Eles querem? Elas querem? Moving on to the next verb. The best verb. Comer, to eat. Eu como. Eu como. Você come. Você come. Nós comemos. Nós comemos. Vocês comem. Eles comem. And while we're at it, let's just do a quick example using some of those words we just learned. So, eu como arroz, right? I eat rice. How would we say something like, they eat sandwiches? So, eles comem sanduíches. Alright, so just remember that for each pronoun, for each subject that you're talking about, you, he, she, etc., there's a different form of that verb. So we have tomar. Tomar, in certain instances, can mean to take or to drink, right? So to take would be something like to take medicine, right? So, eu tomo remédio. I take medicine. Okay? But it can also mean to drink, right? And most of the time, if you want to say you're drinking beer, wine, or milk, those are the big three in my experience. You'll say eu tomo, I take, right? It's perfectly fine to use the other word, the next verb we're going to use, beber, but it is very common. So if you hear someone say like, ele toma vinho, right? Ele toma vinho, right? Third person conjugation. That means he drinks wine, right? So tomar can mean to take something, like a medicine, for example, or it can mean to drink. Typically, you'll hear it with things like this. So, milk, wine, and beer. These are the conjugations right here. Eu tomo, você toma, ele toma, nós tomamos, vocês tomam, eles tomam. And the next verb, beber, is also to drink. Now, you can say eu bebo vinho. It's perfectly fine. I was just saying in my experience and what you will see in Brazil is that people often use the verb tomar when they're talking about milk, beer, or wine. Okay? So beber. All right, so let's ele bebe coca. All right. So I don't think I mentioned, but Coca-Cola, you can say Coca-Cola or you can say Coca, right? And most of the waiters or waitresses will know exactly what you're talking about, Coca-Cola, right? So, as I wrote here, ele bebe coca. He drinks Coke, right? So, let's go through the pronunciation. Eu bebo, você bebe, ele bebe, nós bebemos, nós bebemos, vocês bebem, Okay, then we have this verb, which is somewhat tricky to learn. So it's to like, gostar. Now, I mean, the verb gostar is almost always going to have the de at the end, right, which means of, right? So it literally means I like of something, for example, right? I like of something. Gostar. So these are the conjugations. Eu gosto. Você gosta. Nos gostamos. Nos gostamos. Vocês gostam. Vocês gostam. I'll give you a couple examples. So very simple. Oops. Eu gosto de comer. What would that mean? I like eating. Or I like to eat, I guess you can say. Very simple. So just remember, include the DE. Eu gosto de comer. Now, to be honest, you can just say eu gosto comer. They will understand what you're saying. But I guess if you want to be as comprehensive and as intense as you can in this lesson, it'll be wise to use DE. Right? What else do we have? We have an example like this. Eles gostam de cachorros. Right? That means they like dogs. Right? They like of dogs. It's literally what it translates to. Eles gostam de cachorros. Now, if you remember, the word G or DE, sometimes it's pronounced G. Depending on the article in front of a noun, for example, right, it could be transformed into do, right? Or if it's feminine, right? Or plural, for example, right? Okay. So, give me an example of that, where we have an article before the noun, and that DE gets transformed. So we can say this. Right? So we like, better for you. The United States. Because remember, United States, the article in front of the United States is the OS, Os Estados Unidos. Os is plural for the, right? So Os Estados Unidos. So if you look here, nos gostamos de, right? And then the article is OS, right? Os Estados Unidos. Okay, so it becomes dos. Nos gostamos dos Estados Unidos. We did talk about that in one of the earlier lessons, and I definitely advise you to check that out again if you're a little bit confused about that. It really just has to do with whether the article is O or A, singular or plural. Okay. If you want to ask why didn't we do any type of conjugation like that over here, because comer is a verb, it doesn't have an article, right? So you just use D, right? Eu gosto de comer. Okay. Right here, cachorros, you're not talking about a specific one, right? Right. So just he likes dogs. He likes dogs. But the United States is a specific noun, right? It's a country, so it has an article, right? And it's OS. Okay. So the OS, just to reiterate, here, DE. Nos gostamos de, plus the OS, becomes DOS. Nos gostamos dos Estados Unidos. Alright, everybody. So that is the end of this lesson. It was the longest one so far. It's probably the most interesting. Learned a lot of verbs. Learned some things when it came to food and drink, which is always exciting. So thank you for your time, and we'll have another lesson soon. Take care.